Mayor Rudy Giuliani on
77 WABC.
Well, it's great having you back. This is Rudy Giuliani, and we now have on the line a very familiar voice on Talk Radio 77 WABC, a former member of Governor Christie's administration, the National Director of Operations for Project Veritas, the Associate Producer of The Great One Show, Mark Levin Show. Plus, he's the host of one of the most listened to podcasts on WABCRadio.com. That's Rich Valdes, a podcast that I've been on and can tell you is excellent. And that's because he's from Brooklyn. Rich, how are you?
Mayor, how are you, sir? Thanks for having me on.
I am really, really good. You talk about what you want to talk about, my friend. You're a real expert, and you know the street as well.
George Floyd was killed. I don't think that's debatable. I think the issue that we're seeing now is that we continuously conflate, and when I say we, I think our fellow conservatives are conflating the ability of one to show up with a sign and demand justice, and then some creep, some hooligan, some degenerate
Absolutely.
from Antifa who doesn't care about this man.
Totally different people. Rich.
Exactly.
But media acts like it's the same person.
And I think that is a huge, huge mistake for us to fall into. That's a trap that they're putting out there so that we can take the bait, and then they can go ahead and say to us, oh, so you guys are conflating it, and that Black Lives Matter is automatically now a terrorist group that's doing this. And I'm not here to defend Black Lives Matter or condemn them. I'm just here to say we should condemn the violence and not act as if these people are monolithic, because none of us are monolithic.
You know what would be very helpful, Rich? If they would put out where the people who get arrested come from.
Absolutely.
Because I had to in 93 when I was running, and then in 94 when I started, and Cuomo put out this report about the riots in Crown Heights. I had to really study riots and how to stop them. And I stopped them for 8 years. And I had some pretty bad police shootings that caused big demonstrations.
And Mayor, let me ask you this. Did you have a lot of usual suspects that you saw recurring time and again?
I knew who they were, and the police had them cataloged. And we knew who they were, and we had their pictures. When the decent people showed up to demonstrate, or the political jerk-offs, who show up and they want to get arrested. I had Jesse Jackson ask for an accommodation arrest. He called up Howard Safer, and he said, I don't have a lot of time today. I'm coming in around 3:30. You think you can arrest me and get me on the 7 o'clock plane? I said, I swear to God, absolutely true story. I mean,
I don't doubt
these people do it as a profession. It's a profession.
Exactly. These guys are professional protesters. And I think that's a big part that we don't want to lose sight of, is the fact that these are the same guys we saw in Zuccotti Park with the Occupy Wall Street.
I'm not saying that Jesse is a violent one. He's doing he's doing it so it helps the shakedown business and all the other stuff. But there are people now who come to these things and they create the violence. I mean, I don't know, but I bet you 80% of the people throwing the bricks, burning the buildings, I bet they're from out of town.
Yep, and they're probably the usual suspects whenever we have these issues.
I'm going to tell you why the city has no mayor. Because they're not being arrested.
Oh, yeah.
The first one should have been arrested. And the second one, and the third one, and the fourth one, and we wouldn't be watching this. And the mayor doesn't know what he's doing. The liberal, progressive miasma in his brain prevents him from realizing he's supposed to enforce the law. He took an oath to enforce the law. And when you threw a brick through my window, you just broke the law.
And then he issues a stand-down order.
You know what they used to call that in the old Dinkins days? Venting.
Oh, let it get out of their system?
You got to read this report. It's all about 2 riots. One in Washington Heights, and then there was another one in Crown Heights. Each one of them had a 3-day venting period that led to multi-millions of dollars in damage, tremendous physical damage, people injured, people going to the hospital, firefighters having bricks thrown at them. How come that hasn't happened since then? Because I changed the rules. Well, why doesn't this idiot that runs this town change the rules?
Leadership is key, and unfortunately, it's not as common as people think.
No, and bad leadership can create death. It's unnecessary. These things, running cities, running countries, are matters of life and death at certain times. I mean, there are businesses getting destroyed there, and it did not have to be a second day and a third day. And these people may never be able to recover, Rich. Never.
Yeah, well, now that this officer's been arrested, I'm hoping that they've kind of put a damper on some of these flames.
I hope so, but now they're complaining that it wasn't fast enough. And I mean, the FBI got involved in this case 3 hours after it was first noticed. That's the fastest I've ever heard of. Obama took forever to get involved in the case in New York. In fact, they complained that the FBI getting involved so late made it impossible to make the case. So maybe Trump will get some credit for bringing the FBI in within 3 hours.
Yeah, good luck. I wouldn't hold my breath on that.
With Rich Valdes on 77 WABC. So what do you think of the pandemic? We ready to open up, Rich?
Well, again, I think as a small business owner once upon a time, I would say absolutely. I was a barber, and while we're close to people and
And
we're
a good one,
hands-on,
I can tell you're a good one.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I think it's really important that you stop limiting people from making a living and earning their own living. But by definition, most small business owners, entrepreneurs, bodegueros, whoever they are, they're taking a risk, and they're taking on that risk because they don't want to deal with the government. And I think we should honor that and allow people to work. And I had an interesting conversation with a buddy of mine who's got a restaurant on 39th Street, and he's getting hit over the head. Even him, he's saying, well, look, I don't want to go against the science. I don't want to do anything that's going to hurt people. And of course, nobody does. But I think we have enough science and enough data to take a look at this and say, hey, you know what? This is less than 1% lethality. We have to start taking some reasonable steps, continue to live our life, because people are going to die.
So, Rich, when are you going to be on again?
My show starts tomorrow, live at 5 p.m. every Saturday. We talk about coronavirus and all of the national topics, as well as some of the hottest local topics.
Tune in, people. This guy's great. He's terrific.
Thank you, sir.
You're going to be a big star. You better get to know him now.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Mayor.
Rich, take care.
All right, bye-bye.
And have a good weekend.
You too.